Guys, Traversal ENT in the building. We're back with another one. Now, guys, I've been listening to a Dillian Whyte interview, and there's shocking information that came out of there for me personally. It had me jaw dropped. I'll tell you right now, jaw dropped. Could not believe what I was hearing. That's right, guys. So we're gonna get into it, but before we do, let's just smash this algorithms, because this algorithms wants to be Alexander Usyk, and it thinks that we're Anthony Joshua, but that's not the case. There's no upsets here today, yeah? So let's hit the like button on the video to smash the algorithms, and make sure you leave a comment down below, even if it's just to say thank you or hi, whatever. Just comment on the video. Hit the like button and subscribe, guys, yeah? Let's get back to the topic. Right, so Dillian Whyte revealed a couple of things about this Otto Wallin fight cancellation. All right. Now, we already know that Dillian Whyte has suffered a shoulder injury. That we already know. It's old news now, right? We also know that Otto Wallin's team are not happy with it. And we know the reasons why, because it means that now they don't stand a chance to face Dillian Whyte, which would have been great had they beaten him. It would have opened up the door for them to have a Tyson Fury title shot. It would have made them eligible for it, being as Whyte is in line for that shot. All right? And we all know Wallin wants a revenge against Fury. So they're annoyed about that. On top of that, Otto Wallin's team has also said to Dillian Whyte, we want a medical report to prove that you got a shoulder injury, right? Because, quite frankly, your word ain't good enough. We don't believe you. Third thing is, they also want... What's the third thing that they want? They want a rematch... they want a rescheduling of this fight. They are not satisfied with the fact... They don't want Dillian Whyte to avoid the fight, shoulder injury or not. They want Whyte to reschedule the fight when his shoulder is better, right? Now, guys, understand that Dillian Whyte does not have to fight Otto Wallin. Yeah? He's doing that voluntary. It's not a mandatory thing. If Dillian Whyte cancels the fight, I mean, it is cancelled at the moment anyway, but if Dillian Whyte chooses not to fight Otto Wallin and go straight to Fury, then that's what it is. It is what it is. Of course, Wallin's team don't want that. So that's the background story for those of you who don't know. Now, let's get to the crunch of it now. Dillian Whyte revealed some stuff that was quite shocking to me. The first thing he said that surprised the rubbish out of me was how much he's spending on training camp. Yeah? Guys, the figures you see on the thumbnail, those are how much he's spending on training camp. The £500,000 was what Dillian Whyte spent on 2 training camps with Alexander Povetkin for a fight and that money was completely wasted to an extent. Meaning he paid $250 in that prior to Povetkin cancelling the fight, and the fight didn't happen, money flushed. Then he paid again, another $250, give or take. And Povetkin hit him with the was it the COVID-19 excuse? Because Povetkin cancelled Whyte twice, believe it or not, right before they had the rematch. And that explains why Dillian Whyte came in that rematch with all viciousness, vengefulness, and, he came in there to clean the guy out. Because the guy cost him a lot of money. A hell of a lot of money. 500,000, that's $500,000, people. Moving on, then he says about Otto Wallin, Dillian Whyte says, first and foremost, put some respect on my name, he says. He says, put some respect on my name because I'm the guy that goes in there and fights everyone that people are avoiding. Yeah? He lists the names of who he's talking about. He gives you the receipts. He says, I went in there and fought Oscar Rivas. No one wants to fight this guy. That's before I fought him. Yeah? I went in there and took fights I didn't need to take with 2 Derek Chisora fights. One was an absolute war. I went in there and did it again to prove that I'm the better man. I knocked him out. When people were saying, they were questioning stuff about the fight. So I'm leaning more towards Derek. So I closed it out. I cemented that fight. He's been in there with Helenius. He's been in there with Povetkin. He's been in there with Parker. He's been in there with Joshua. He's been in there even with Lucas Brown, who we didn't know how he was going to perform when he fought Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is also the guy that's been calling out Deontay Wilder, begging Deontay Wilder for a fight. This is before Wilder got beat by Tyson Fury even. So he's saying, how you gonna call him scared to go in there against Otto Wallin when he's trying to run towards Wilder and he's taking on all these other fights? Then you same people seeing him do all of that are gonna say that he's scared of Otto Wallin. Dillian Whyte is saying, put some respect on his name. Yeah, that's the first thing he said about Wallin. The next thing he said about Wallin was, do you know how much money he's spending on these training camps for the Wallin fight? Why the hell would he flush that money in the loo and say the shoulder's fake when he spent that much money in the training for the fight? And this is the bit that I think goes well over people's heads. Because you see, the average person isn't conscious or isn't aware, is ignorant, naturally ignorant of how much Dillian Whyte is actually spending because of where he's chosen to take his camp. The average fighter, Dillian Whyte said in the interview, he hears certain heavyweights have spent 15. He said he heard a certain fighter spent 15 grand on training camp. Dillian Whyte basically said that if he was spending that money, 15k, he would be ecstatic. That would be like basically music to him, music to his ears. He goes, try 20 times that. Try 10, 20 times that. He goes, I don't just spend thousands of pounds when I'm in training camp. I spend hundreds of thousands of pounds when I'm in training camp. He said it's very expensive. And now here's the breakdown that's going to jaw drop you guys. Dillian Whyte has got his training camp happening in Portugal, right? So he's got to take himself over there. He's got to take his team that's training him over there. He pays for all their flights. He pays for all their accommodation. This is his trainer. He's, conditioner, strength, all of that. Everyone that you've got in the gym that you need, a team around you that you need for a fight to train you up. He brings them all over. He pays for all their accommodation. He feeds them. He makes sure they're fed. And he does the same with the sparring partners. And with heavyweights, they bring about sometimes 3-4 sparring partners, depending on who they're fighting. And they come in... I suppose they bring them quarterly, right? Let's say there's 4 sparring partners. Each of them will take a quarter. Whyte pays for each of them, their accommodation, their flight, their stay. He pays for their meals. He covers them in terms of medically if they need to, see any sort of medical rehabilitation, physio, hospital treatment during camp. Whilst if they're injured, Whyte covers all the costs. He says heavyweights are big guys and big guys like to eat. Dillian Whyte said it is way more than £15,000 for him. It's about £150,000 a training camp for him in Portugal. He goes, actually, it's cheaper when he trains in the UK because he goes, at least then he can get sparring partners from the UK if he needed to, and they've got their own accommodations. He doesn't have to pay for stuff like that. He doesn't have to pay for their meals. He goes, he actually cuts costs when he does the training camp in the UK. But when he's doing it in a certain area, like where he's at now, he said he's paying mad amounts of money. And then he's saying to you guys now, do you not think he's doing all of that to literally flush it in the loo? And now he's saying, I've got to do all the boring rehabilitation stuff that I don't want to do. Excuse the sound. All the boring rehabilitation stuff that he doesn't want to do, that he's got to do now to make that shoulder better. Then he was questioned about, but what about showing proof to Otto Wallin's team? Dillian Whyte says Povetkin didn't show him any proof when he pulled out of the fight, said he had COVID. There weren't no COVID medical reports sent over to Dillian Whyte's team for them to look at and approve and say, okay, cool, it's legit. And then he repeats to put some respect on his name. Then he said about Otto Wallin, he goes, look, I was in the position where how long have I been waiting for a fight? He goes, he understands why Otto Wallin and his team are annoyed and disappointed and why they really want the fight to happen. Even if it can't happen now, October 30th, they still want it to happen. Because he said it's going to be Otto Wallin's biggest payday. He said Otto Wallin's getting paid more for fighting Dillian Whyte than Otto Wallin was getting or got for fighting Tyson Fury. And to be honest with you, at the time, that makes sense. Dillian Whyte was a bigger draw, pay-per-view-wise, than Tyson Fury is back then. Now that might be different depending on which part of the world you're in. Like in the UK, a Tyson Fury Otto Wallin fight versus a Dillian Whyte Otto Wallin fight, I don't really know which one will bring in more money. Maybe Fury now because he's beaten Wilder. But prior to Fury beating Wilder, or prior to Fury fighting Wilder, Dillian Whyte was a bigger draw than Tyson Fury was in terms of the pay-per-view numbers. I know, shocking, right? But this is a fact. And this is, especially in the UK I'm talking about, this is why Fury doesn't, one reason why he doesn't fight in the UK, because he's never been that guy to do fantastically well in the UK in the past, Fury. Because the UK never embraced Tyson Fury like that. Now they want to, but that's not the relationship they had with Fury. Fury was always bashed in the United Kingdom. He was looked at as the child you don't want. That's the truth. So Dillian Whyte has said, Otto Wallin, it's the biggest pay. He's going to get the biggest pay of his life. Of course he wants it. Then he actually went and threw a diss, in my opinion, at Wallin and his team, right? Be it his managers, his trainers, etc., thinking they probably already spent the money in advance, thinking they was going to get it. And now they're sort of like pretty much in debt. They went and bought a house. They went and bought cars because they were going to get X amount of money for the fight. Oh, I can do that with that money. I can do this with that money. I'll buy me a house, get me a nice little car over here. And now the fight's not happening. Where's this money at? So Dillian Whyte says, I understand why he's frustrated. But then he went on to say, F Otto Wallin. What do I care about Otto Wallin? If the fight never happens, what do I care about it? He ain't going to not fight Fury because Wallin's there. He goes, look, I hurt my shoulder. It's what it is. I fought through injured shoulders. Now, this is where Dillian Whyte has shown me some maturity, guys, because look at what he says next. He said, in the past, he would have fought with this bad shoulder. He goes, yeah, he would have done it. He would have taken painkiller, gone into the fight, fought with it. The first 2-3 rounds, he would have felt okay, but then the effects will wear out. The shoulder will really hurt him. Then he just has to make do with what he's got. And you know what, guys? That's exactly how Dillian Whyte fought Anthony Joshua. Dillian Whyte had tore his shoulder in a fight against Anthony Joshua. Some people still don't believe that today, but that's a fact. Dillian Whyte's shoulder was damaged in that Joshua fight. Dillian fought with one arm in that Joshua fight. By the third round, shoulder done. The pain came back, but he soldiered through because he's a soldier like that. He even said to his team for this fight with the Wallin fight, he said, okay, I've hurt myself. Can't we just get through it? Can't we just do it anyway? Forget it. I'll just do it anyway. I'll try to blast him out of there in 3 rounds. And then if I can't, I just have to survive it and just beat him like that. That shows you the mentality of the man. That he's willing to go in there handicapped. And of course, he sat down with his team. His team said, hell no, you're not doing that. There's no way you're doing that. And obviously, he paid attention to wise words. Thank God for these teammates telling him that. And his management telling him that. So he understands Otto Wallin's frustration, but Dillian Whyte doesn't give a monkey. He says he feels sorry for him when he was in a situation where he's waiting how many days for his fight? Fighters ain't gathering up together, riling up to the WBC saying, let Whyte fight, let Whyte. They weren't doing that. It's not their job to do it anyway. So Dillian Whyte's like, why do I give a SHIT about Otto Wallin if it comes down to that? About giving him a medical report and all of that stuff. As if his word ain't good enough. And you know what? I have to respect it. If there's one fighter I'm never going to question when it comes to the person's cojones, bravery, testicular fortitude, I ain't ever questioning Dillian Whyte's heart. I'm never going to question that guy's courage. I'm never going to think Dillian Whyte is scared of a man when this same guy is trying to run towards the hardest puncher in heavyweight boxing. That will make me feel like an idiot. I'm not doing that. You can do it if you want to. I ain't doing it, mate. Shocking stuff. 500k for the two Povetkin training camps. And he did not get to fight him at the time he had spent that. Yeah? Because that's what he spent after the first fight. He wanted to spend that for the rematch. Povetkin messing him around. 120, 150k for the Otto Wallin fight training camp. My goodness, man. That's money, guys. Some of you lot, you know what you can do with 120k? You buy properties in certain parts of the world. More than one in certain parts of the world. Don't come to London thinking you can buy property in London with 120k. You ain't buying anything here with 120k. London, for buying properties, is a millionaire's playground. UK, you can get yourself a little something with 120k outside of London. But you come to London, you ain't getting yourself anything with 120k. Right? And it's probably the same in certain states in the United States, right? It's probably the same. It is what it is. Traversal ENT thought I'll give you the news. I was quite surprised with the amount and the figures and the breakdown that Dillian Whyte gave us. Make sure you do the right thing. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Let's smash the algorithms to bits, guys. Hit the like button. I'm signing out. Peace out.